So, there seems to be a little bit of confusion still about the insulation test. In particular, what do we do with this lead when we carry out the insulation test, and do we need to put it on something metal when we carry out the insulation test on a Class 1 or a Class 2 appliance? And I think part of the problem arises because we tend to think of this probe or this lead or this crocodile clip as the earth lead or the earth clip. And for that reason, we're tempted to think that we only need it for the earth continuity test. But of course we need it for the insulation test as well, or at least we do sometimes. Let me explain. Let's take, for example, this Class 2 table lamp, a fairly basic table lamp, Class 2 device, although it does have some metal parts on it. And of course we need to make sure that these metal parts are not going to be live when we use it. So what the pat tester will do is it will apply a voltage to the live and neutral wires which are joined together inside the pat tester, and then it will look to see if any of that voltage appears on the outside of this lamp. There's presumably a cable running up through the middle of this gooseneck, there's metal inside here. It's not impossible to imagine that that cable could become frayed or perished in some way, especially on an old lamp. This one's quite new. But if that cable were to become frayed or perished, you could imagine a bit of copper touching the inside of this metal case when the lamp is in use. And so, if that were to happen, the whole of the outside of this lamp would be live and the next person who touched it would get a shock. The insulation test is designed to detect that very fault. So as I say, we apply a test voltage to the live and neutral. Now the important thing to note here, the bit that sometimes people get wrong, is that the live and neutral are joined together inside the pat tester when the test is actually carried out. The other thing we have to do is make sure the lamp is switched into the on position, and then of course we have to put this clip on something metal. We have to put that clip on a metal part. When we do the test, the tester will apply that test voltage and it will look to see if any of that voltage appears on the outside. If it does, it will go back down this red lead into the tester. The tester will reveal a fault. If there isn't a fault, none of that test voltage that goes into the appliance will come down this lead into the tester, so the tester will tell us that everything's okay. In this case, we've got a reading of greater than 19.99 megohms, which is effectively infinity, and it means that none of that test voltage that went in has appeared on the outside, which is what we would hope. If we don't put this lead on, if we don't put that lead on and we do the test, well then it turns out it passes as well. But have a think about what's happening there. We're putting a test voltage into the device, we're putting a test voltage into the lamp, but we're not looking to see if any of it appears on the outside. Because unless we put that lead on, we're not checking for it. So of course it's going to tell us there's a pass, because none of that test voltage has gone down the lead, because the lead's not connected to anything. In fact, even if we don't plug anything at all into the tester and we do the test, there's nothing plugged in at the moment, we press the green button on the tester, we get a pass as well, because it's saying there's no fault. Well, of course there's no fault, because we're not looking for it. So the key to this, when you're testing a Class 2 appliance, you must put the clip on something metal, put the clip on a metal part. That's the only way you'll reveal a fault if there is one. Now, this toaster is Class 1. When we do the insulation test on this toaster, you'll be well aware, I'm sure, that these metal parts here are connected to the earth pin on the plug. And if we're not sure, well, of course, we test that when we do the earth continuity test. And as you know, we always do the earth continuity test before we do the insulation test. So actually, if I were to do the insulation test on this toaster, we wouldn't need to put the lead on something metal, because we've already got a connection to those metal parts via the earth pin. But on a lamp like this, we haven't got that connection onto metal parts, which is why the lead is so important. So you could, in theory, leave the clip off when you do the insulation test on a Class 1 appliance, although if you think about it, on a toaster like this, of course we need to put that lead on for the earth test. We always do the earth test first, and there's not really much point in taking it off, so you might as well leave it on. So when people come on my training courses, I always tell them, whenever you're testing anything, whether it's Class 1 or Class 2, you always plug the device into the tester, you make sure the appliance switch is in the on position, and then you always put the clip on something metal. And if you plug in, clip on, switch on, every time you will always get the right answer. There may be times when you can get away without having this lead on, but it doesn't hurt to put it on. If you plug in, clip on, switch on, every time, you will always get the right answer on the earth test and the insulation test.